Thought we'd check in with Premier Brad Wall, who we find on his way to Nipawin today. Premier, thanks for taking our call.
John, thanks for having me on.
Let's go on the first quarter numbers. First of all, we spoke yesterday with Bill Doyle, the potash CEO. What is the status today when you look at Saskatchewan's resource economy? Potash, oil, and agriculture is the big three.
Sure. Well, out of caution, we're lowering our projections for potash, even though the news out of Russia hasn't sort of manifested itself in actual action, and there's some doubt as to whether it will. We want to be cautious. We've also adjusted the budget to reflect the fact that oil is trading at a much higher price than we budgeted, and that the dollar is slightly lower. And so the net effect is that we have a balanced budget. The net effect is that the softness we budgeted in potash, and we adjusted to in potash, is compensated by the oil increase. Also, we've had an increase in expenditure and disaster assistance payments as a result of not just this year, but payments from previous years. So overall, it's a balanced budget. More importantly, the job numbers today, very strong, John. Our economy, I say, and obviously that's Saskatchewan employers, entrepreneurs, created 21,500 new jobs year over year, even as the country lost jobs. And here's the interesting part, because I think Mr. Brockman, the NDP, and others were saying, look, we have too many eggs in the natural resource basket. Natural resource sector jobs went down year over year, and still we created a nationwide leading 21,500 jobs. The sectors that led the growth: agriculture, trade, innovation, manufacturing. We are diversifying this economy, and again, when I say we, I mean the companies in this province, the people of Saskatchewan. We need to continue to be focused on that, so we have more options and more diversity. But these numbers are strong, and we should take a time to look at them carefully. We also see First Nations and Métis employment up 3,500 year over year. The unemployment rate amongst Aboriginal people down 2%. So positive signs, although obviously we got to keep our head down and keep moving ahead.
The overall labor force as well, when you look at these numbers, compared to Alberta, they're still a juggernaut. 68,000, the labor force grows by. Ours grows by 16,500. But other provinces like BC, the labor force is actually smaller year over year. So if you've got 16.7 in terms of overall new labor force, that's working age people more here than last year.
Well, you're right about that. It's 21,500 new jobs created year over year. 16,000 and change are full-time jobs, so 75% of them full-time. The labor force is growing. There's more people coming. You're right. When you're next to Alberta, you'll always have to compete with Alberta. And for decades, of course, we were unable to. We lost too many people to that province. But things have changed. And what also has changed is that we have other sectors of the economy responding to opportunity, and it's really evident in agriculture. Remember the last export numbers came out. We exported $32.5 billion worth of goods out of this province, ahead of British Columbia, that actually has ports, and a third of that, fully a third, was agriculture. So there's manufacturing strength. We have an innovation agenda now that's creating new opportunities and new economies, and that's the reality here. And again, we can't ever get complacent. We won't. Nobody's going to be spiking the ball in the end zone. We need to all keep our head down, make sure we have the right business climate, and make sure we're telling our story, John. That is a role for government together with business. And so I think the numbers are pretty optimistic today, and we should look at them in the context of the news that we heard on potash over the last couple of weeks.
Premier, glad we had this. I want to just grab you for a minute. Thanks on both of the resource numbers and the employment numbers. Talk again.
Go Riders. Thanks, John.
Premier Brad Wall, we find en route to Nipawin today, signing a forestry agreement there and in the Northeast.